Okay, guys, this is it. The WardiTV Spring Championship final day for the preseason. The main event for Europe, at the very least, starts tomorrow, and for Korea will start on April 17th, as we do have in the top left-hand side the blue Zerg player. This is Reynor, and he is about to scout the proxy racks of the red Terran. In the bottom right-hand side of the map, this is INnoVation. But this is obviously not the prettiest proxy racks position in the world. Overlord's just going to sit up here and have a little gander over what's going on. He has a bit of fun there. And, well, I mean, Reynor sees this soon enough. He can go spawning pool first. He can send drones across to delay. And INnoVation is, well, INnoVation's going to take a little bit of damage here initially. I mean, I feel like you need more than just SCV RNG at this point. Well, one SCV on the top side might finish up the racks. It's getting kind of close. That drone didn't attack for a moment. The SCV goes to the other side. It does. He's going to finish up the first racks. Probably have to cancel barracks number 2, although he's actually just going to get the Marine and then maybe go into it. But then the Zergling's already on the way from Reynor, so already going to be getting into a very good position here right from the get-go. I mean, that's just going to cancel. And, well, there's a Roach Roaring at home from Reynor as well. So he's one base roaching it up right now, taking that second gas as well. INnoVation does cancel a racks, and he can go into a factory at home, but remember that anything you build at home is that much later than it usually is, because you build 2 racks before anything else. So all of your typical defensive setups here are completely delayed compared to where you would usually want them to be, as he's going to drop a command center. I mean, I guess he has the money on 1 gas. Oh, this is not a pretty start to the series, guys. This is not how you want your best of 5 to begin. As we're going to be seeing, these Zerglings will continue down to the bottom right. This Marine needs to get in here without the Lings, and that might just be a GG. Well, I mean, the SCVs can pull, but that's even more lost mining time in a world where, you know, mining time is very much so needed. INnoVation will clean out all of those Zerglings going down, and just going to be seeing the couple of extra Roaches continue to build up over in the main base, etc. Ravager morphing in, and the Reaper does see the Roach attack coming, so he will start up a bunker. He will get a CC going, so he kept the Marine alive. This bunker is for this sole Marine. And then the factory can go Tech Lab and maybe towards a Cyclone, but he's really going to need the gas for that. And he's going to take gas number 2 now. Obviously, Reynor is just on 1 base, so in fairness, you know, there is absolutely possibility here that if INnoVation holds on, he can transition out of this. But obviously, holding on is not going to be easy. It's going to be a real challenge. He's trying to buy some time with this Reaper. A grenade here to bop a couple units back for another moment or 2, perhaps, or it just looks as though he's just going to go full on in towards the bunker. He actually did get a second Marine here. It actually isn't a bad start. You get first Ravager to half HP, especially because it's the Ravager and not a Roach, right? Because the Roach would have morphed into a Ravager to get the heal off. But because you hit the Ravager down, there's no healing on that. This Reaper is... I actually didn't realize he built an extra Reaper, so Reaper gets picked off coming back home. Well, Cyclone on the way, 4 Ravagers, a Roach. Obviously, the question is how many SCVs do you lose trying to keep this bunker alive? And so far, none. Reynor has started out just now a couple of drones behind this. Well, still 1 more Roach, but the Cyclone coming out, and obviously, again, this is starting to look that much better. Reynor will not target fire down the SCVs. He hits one of them with the corrosive bile. INnoVation continues to pull back, and does he have the repair to keep this alive? It's getting pretty close. He will lose the bunker, but what he will not lose, what he will get is the Overlord. So now you've actually got to kind of send units up the ramp to get high ground vision. That does hurt a little bit, because typically you're running into damage as that happens. And because of it, INnoVation is going to get a siege tank on the way. I actually think this is a hold from INnoVation. He's, just not going to get that Ravager. If Reynor gets out of here with these Ravagers, that's really good for him. INnoVation might want to... I was going to say INnoVation might want to chase with the Cyclone. Oh my god, Reynor, what are you doing? Well, he kills the siege tank. I'm not sure if that really matters. A Cyclone should still be able to defend here, especially against what is a very low HP set of Ravagers right now. Oh my god, I mean, very low HP. All of them are like 2 hittable. That is a very weak set of units. I can't believe Reynor's going to get away with them. Then again, he's actually got all units still coming across, so while he's been adding some workers on, he hasn't given up on this attack altogether. This siege tank needs to try and be a little bit safe here. INnoVation's going to see it pretty early with these Roaches pressing forward, so the siege tank's going to pull back and siege up from a distance. again, I mean, these Ravagers are kind of in a horrible spot here. SCVs will start to repair the siege tank. No, they're not repairing it. Oh my god, they get there in the end. A couple more corrosive biles. The tank will go down. Now there's no units. Losing the Cyclone is obviously a big part of the issue here, as we're going to be seeing the Ravagers going to be pushed back by SCVs. New siege tank on the way. I mean, I think losing the Cyclone, you just lose your mobile movement. This depot's out of place to stop the wall off as well, so that's not exactly ideal. I mean, this has just been a complete mess of a defense altogether. Viking on the way out as well. Anything you can use to, you know, get some units out right now. Again, that Ravager is low, though. I can't believe those Ravagers were on such low HP to begin with, because that is the reason you kind of lost here. Does this tank even want to go and see? I don't think you even want to siege up necessarily. I think you just want to stay mobile. There's not that many units. Viking about to pop for some extra damage output. At this point, INnoVation lost 14 SCVs, but it's still a one-base play from Reynor. So you're still okay-ish. He's going to siege the tank because there's only 2 Ravagers here, so he can't die to just 1 bile. Oh, just 2 biles, but then, I mean, then, like, what was that? Obviously not enough repair. I mean, INnoVation, I feel like there's been so many questionable decisions already. Let's just put it that way, as he's going to try and keep chasing this off. A few SCVs coming down. This next tank will spawn as well and continue to pull back. I mean, he's going to get a couple of these roaches, but now there's so many units in this main base, and INnoVation is down to 4 SCVs. And this was honestly not pretty from either side, let's just say it. INnoVation, sad face, and GG. This was not pretty from either side at all. There was mistakes made, and that was a very weird game number 1. To 2 corrosive biles. But the fact of the matter is, there's also straight up damage output. It just, yeah, I mean, if the Cyclone stays alive, even better. And honestly, how many of those Ravagers stayed alive on super low HP? That was obviously pretty crazy as well, as we do have in the upper right-hand side our red Terran player who is down a map. This is INnoVation. As in the bottom left, our green Zerg Reynor, as we kick off into game number 2 of the best of 5 series. And no proxy barracks this time around, so already off to a little bit more of a regular start as we get this up and underway. Is it laggy for everyone or only the Koreans? Well, Reynor's not exactly playing on perfect ping, like he is playing NA Central, but the issue is that I was talking to Special about this as well. The issue is not so much like the ping is bad, because the ping is like still like 180-ish to 200, which is worse than it was, versus like 140 to 160 for Europe. It kind of depends, but apparently it just spikes a lot. So while you're playing, it's not consistent lag, which you can almost play around, right? If you know your unit's going to respond that little later, it takes a bit of practice, but you know, you can get used to it, you can adjust. But when it's apparently it's just like very very inconsistent and like a little bit spiky, and it's just a bit random. So a lot of frustrations from the Koreans at the moment, because a lot of them really are having a lot of issues over on the American server. This is just straight up aggression from Reynor in game number 2 as well. Sixlings, the Rotron dropping down, and the SCV scout. Well, we'll at least see the Zerglings, and we'll continue through to try and make a scout into the main. Amazing if you get to see the Rotron, of course, but he will not. He just wants to confirm there is a natural. Which means it isn't a certain kind of roach push, but obviously still some kind of roach push. So we'll see how INnoVation ends up responding. His Reaper already coming out on the map is going to go save the SCV. Meanwhile, Falling's around the right side. Now, he does have a marine building, so that can help as well. As we're going to see those few Zerglings setting up over to the right. Just going to be having the factory about halfway done here from INnoVation Reactor on the barracks, as we're just going to be seeing the few Zerglings of Reynor continue to be chased around. I mean, honestly, right now, if you can keep this Reaper distracted, then brilliant. But the Reaper will come forwards, and it will see the roaches. So INnoVation is going to get the scout that he needs to know what's going on in the early stages. Ling's coming up the ramp here, of course. I mean, INnoVation has the CC on the low ground, so that's finished up at least, and a bunker on the way. Because he sees this early enough, he's not gone into Hellion production at all. He's just going to produce more Marines, so he will have good damage output. And Starport building behind this Braxton factory. The Cyclone already on the way, so I mean, again, theoretically, the setup here is good for INnoVation to defend, but it was in the last game as well. You know, in the last game, it was also in a good position to set up and defend, etc. And there's two Roaches and Ravages going to hit this depot. I mean, there's not much you can do about that. It's actually a very horrible position. You know, on this bottom side, the fact that Ravages can hit it from over here, it's actually a pretty nice position. Now he's going to get the reaction in the other depot. I mean, these are losses you often face when playing against this sort of a setup. The SCV's pulled back, and Cyclone here to lock on. There was only 4 Roaches and only 2 Ravages morphed in, so at the end of the day, this is just a delay. You know, Reynor gives up some economy early to apply some pressure. The 2 depots and the reactor seems to be all he wants. He already starts to back away, so INnoVation will move out towards this natural expansion as he goes into a Banshee, and we'll see if he wants to go Cloak. He's a little low on money, on gas, because he's building a second Cyclone here. Obviously, usually if you're building Banshees at this stage, you'd afford Cloak because you're not building Cyclones, you're building Hellions and they're only minerals. So, obviously a little bit funky. Now, INnoVation's got a good Marine count with the Banshee as well. He's got a lot of damage output in this army. And honestly, a push through the middle of the map and across to deal some damage, it might not be so bad. It has some potential. Loses the Reaper here as the units lie in wait in that line of sight blocker. Now Reynor will pull back. He will get to the high ground, but the Cyclones is going to continue over. I mean, find themselves an Overlord right away. Not a bad start. And of course, the third hatchery a little bit later than usual here as well, because Reynor's been applying pressure early. So INnoVation comes in and scouts this. He does now start Cloak for the Banshees. So he will eventually get on towards Cloak. What that means is we're probably going to see at least 3 Banshees here, I'd imagine, as we do see this Banshee of INnoVation continuing down to the bottom left-hand side. A couple of Spore Crawlers setting up, and just going to be seeing that Zerglin speed from Reynor finishing as well. As with, again, 2 Cyclones and the Banshee, we're going to get a lock on here, and this Overlord is going to be taking some real damage, so Overlord will go down. Zerglin's on the other side, though, and this is the issue with not having a set of Hellions on the map, is just that, well, Zerglins are probably very powerful in low numbers against a lot of things, including those Cyclones. So, yeah, there is a good Marine count here, and maybe this is where... it's kind of a weird one, right? Because the Marines are nice to have kept alive, but at the same time, maybe it would have been nice to have those Marines with the Cyclones. But of course, then can you really stay on the map? Do these Lings just kill it anyway, and then you're in an even worse position? It's kind of tough. Is INnoVation going to go against what he said in the lobby chat of game number 1, which he said, Mech only laggy server? This is going to be the Bionics, as they would say, the bio play from INnoVation. So, bio play with siege tanks and obviously medevacs. So it's going to be siege tank focus as he has his Cloak Banshees moving around and looking for a couple of drone kills here early on. Gets about 5 workers so far as INnoVation will pull these Banshees back and just keep them in the corner and just let them regenerate some energy perhaps. Actually looks like you might try and sneak them out down the bottom side. And that's a little bit risky with this Queen right here. Good target fire by Reynor. That target fire by INnoVation is going to get him another Banshee killed. If he'd got this drone on the second shot right away, then he probably would have been out of there with that Banshee at least, but not the case. I thought it would be more than 2 Banshees, honestly, just because of the later Cloak, but apparently INnoVation didn't really mind waiting up for Cloak, and he just swapped over now. Again, siege tank production. Medevac's on the way. These few Marines going to find a few Zerglings for free as they move down to the bottom side. So able to pick up a few kills there already, is now an orbital landing in the 3rd base location as well. Plenty of Marines going to make their way out through the top, and again a few other Marines, a siege tank, all of this coming along, as we do have Reynor with the hatchery down in the center of the map. What's the Marines, the siege tank? I mean, it's a nice little early game push before Balin speed is up, before it's before your own 1-1 as well, but before 1-1 of either player. And really, Reynor, a couple of Balins, not that many to work with here, as the 4th base definitely in danger of being cancelled. These Marines will get the cancel, and also a Queen on the 3rd base as well, so pushing in a couple directions there. He's getting in and getting a few drone kills. Now INnoVation pulling back. What he really needs to try and do is get that tank targeting the Banes, or at least try to target fire the Banes with his Marines. In the end, it's going to be a lift and get out of there. But honestly, good push forward still, right? Creep spread cleared, 4th base cancelled. And then Reynor's now going to take this 4th base to the bottom side. Still has Marines left to drop around. Obviously, you can maybe see something of the latency there from INnoVation, where dealing with those Balins seem to be more of a struggle than you might usually expect. I was just going to be seeing the forces here, INnoVation in the center then, but this is where Reynor gets scary, starting to set up run-bys with the Warlock already up. Obviously, that can be busted down by Balins, etc. Always love those 2 tanks in the center of this map, just really creates even more of a choke point through the choke point. It's almost impossible to fight them. As INnoVation drops another scan, really just going for all of the creep spread he can find at the moment. And a few Banes start to connect in. INnoVation pulls back. Lings did get on top of the siege tanks, though. And so Reynor will make this a cleanup. Even though INnoVation he's been putting himself in good spots and trading well. Reynor keeps finding the cleanups like a few moments later, and so it's not so bad as INnoVation drops a second factory and a fourth command center. So just happy to let this game end up macroing up for a little while, apparently. So that's where we are going, as Marines, tank, and medevacs. All of this coming out of the front. We're going to be seeing this medevac of Marines out to the far left-hand side as well. And again, the Lings, couple of roaches and ravagers, all gathering up together too. I was going to be seeing our Marines jumping into that medevac, lifting up and pulling back away up the over to the left-hand side as creep spread. Coming over the left, and just going to be seeing some Marines pressing forwards here. Going to grab a couple of queens already. Just not quite there. Grabs one queen though, which is quite nice. As the creep gonna, I love this. He's even spreading some creep backwards. I guess he doesn't have the line, the vision beyond the line of sight blockers to actually do much over there. INnoVation is going to be dropping around, then still cleaning up creep in the center of the map too. So just trying to really fight the Zerg back and limit what he, what options he has. In the end, INnoVation switched in towards a Widowmine setup as well, by the way. So he didn't continue with many siege tanks, just the one. Well, he had a few in the center, etc. as well, but there's just the one left over. Now going in towards Widowmines and Drilling Claws against what is a Lingbane heavy setup, and what is also going to be Mutalisks on the way very, very soon. That Mutalisk count is just now starting. 10 Mutalisks in the production tab. So just going to be seeing the few Marines dropping down, as the Ling's actually going to be surrounding that right away, and INnoVation is maybe a little slow to pick that back up. Two Liberators around to the upper left-hand side. Marines, Widowmines continue to press forwards. The medevacs of INnoVation will be pulling back as well. And just seeing, I mean, maybe these Libs can get something done. He's going to get past the first Spore Crawl and siege the third. And natural, I'd imagine. Yeah, he is. He's just going to go here and then split some Liberator duo for synchro formations. We're going to be seeing Marines over here running themselves in the corner. I mean, Marines are actually going to lift up and save themselves. But these Libs are getting serious damage done. 11, 12, 13 workers. I mean, this is 2 Libs on 2 different mineral lines. Just going crazy. This one's still having fun. Oh my god, a 12, 13 kill Liberator. Out over here, this Liberator picked off the Queen as well. Will go down now, but my god, what a disaster as these Mutalisks come back in. They were chasing medevacs. They were chasing the drops away, but 18, 19 workers going down. And Reynor has to spend a big amount of time there rebuilding his worker count rather than rebuilding his army count, which can absolutely power up INnoVation's next attack, as he's now up on these 4 bases. Widowmine of INnoVation coming out into the center. Mutalisks will hang around to the bottom right as well. Just going to be seeing the 4 Widowmines still making their way through the south side. Well, Creep Team is already going down, as the Mutalisk gonna... Again, yeah, I actually don't know what they picked off right away. They get that siege tank now. I thought they were killing the depot, but yeah, apparently not. A couple of Widowmines are just wandering in as the Mutalisks in some trouble. Widowmine drops from INnoVation, and Reynor's not paying enough attention to that. I mean, he sees it too late, and that's another 16 workers killed. So INnoVation is able to get a lot of workers picked off here, really able to deal some good damage. Is going to see this Bioforce through the center. There's going to be a scan coming down. Some of these creep tumors already dropping. And again, I mean, if he gets these queens and 2 new creep tumors as well, really denying this creep fantastically throughout the entirety of the game. I mean, there's not been a moment where it really feels like Reynor's creep spread has been allowed to just expand out of control or anything. And INnoVation straight up to base number 5 as well. So obviously Reynor's up to 5 bases and going to 6. INnoVation looking to just keep those numbers up as well. He's now got a Thor 2 in the mix, and so those Mutalisks are in a little bit more trouble than they once were. This is going to be a lift and a run the hell away. Some Widowmines will go off. Splashing into some Mutalisks, which, I mean, any splash damage on Mutalisks is nice, because then it means that the Thor splash damage is going to become that much closer to being deadly. So as this Queen drops the Transfuse, a final act on this battlefield. Feelings already starting to run through. I mean, INnoVation has an army around this top side, which is kind of a little bit choked up in the center. He's having to pull back. He's dealing with the army that was on the top very nicely. And now Reynor's going to end up running through a choke if he wants to keep on chasing. This is a very weird fight because Reynor was obviously, again, having some units kind of looping around the top, but he didn't have enough to really make a surround out of this. The Marines having to step away, does take one Baneling shot to the face, but he will continue forwards here. 15 Banes morphing, not ready yet, but they are now done. INnoVation will have to start splitting once more. Needs reinforcements here, perhaps, as he doesn't have any Widowmines to really help him out. The Mutalisk count is just going to be enough to overrun in the end, and these Medivacs need to start boosting away, and that is what they will do. Now INnoVation will be chased, but Reynor doesn't have the Banelings to continue chasing. INnoVation was like 5-10 seconds to get on top, away from getting on top of Banelings before they were morphed. If that happens, this game might just end. Overall, at the end, the Mutalisk count was overwhelming, and so it overwhelmed anything that was on the ground. And that's what you kind of want in these fights. If your ground army runs out, the Mutas can clean up as long as there's not a significant amount of Marines still left over. A few Marines already coming in, picking off one of these Mutalisks. Now the Medivacs being chased, rest of the Marines coming forwards. And these Mutas continue to come away over to the right-hand side. Still a bit more Ling Bane in the center of the map. +3 vehicle plating on the armory. Again, 5 bases overall as the Thor Widowmines bio units. All of this pouring out here. Mutalisk going to try and get in towards the natural, but there's actually a Thor here, so we make that a 3rd base. And now the triple missile turret will be finishing, so at the same time, Reynor on the top side, a Widowmine that's going to go into the center of Zerglings for 14 kills. Now the Bane count good enough here to get the kill on the Planetary Fortress. INnoVation just gives it up. Says it's better to just, let this die than lose SCVs trying to repair it as well. As he has got the Mutalisks into his mineral line as well. Marines stepping over and the Mutas do end up pushed away. As INnoVation back into the middle. Again, just, Ling Bane Muta purely from Reynor, but he's comfortable enough to go into Adrenal Glands, 3/3 melee upgrades. As all of this pushes through the center, a couple of these Widowmines can set up, but unfortunately hit by Banelings right away, and INnoVation. Well, this is a nice sort of time where he's 3/3, right, and there's not really any Hive Tech in play, yet Reynor is still invested into it. He spent money on it. A lot of these Banes not really connecting against all these Marauders. Big stim from INnoVation. Here we go. Widowmines in the background. Actually not even getting a chance to go off because the Banelings are just dying. And all of a sudden, INnoVation is continuing to chase forwards. This is the moment where there are no Banelings left on the map for Reynor. And all of a sudden, INnoVation smells blood in the water. And he is just going to start going for this. The Mutalisk will fly in on top of these couple of Thors. The Bioforce gets rid of an Infestation Pit, putting itself in a really dangerous spot. There is no way out of this base other than fighting for your life. Banelings on the top side, Banelings morphing on the south. If he can get rid of some of these morphing Banes, he can maybe just kill them off as they roll in. That seems to be INnoVation's plan. He's going to get the Hive in a moment or two. He stims back, he leaves the Hive alive. Well, he wants to fight over here. He knows the danger of getting overrun in one position. Meanwhile, Lings across the map have killed the natural command center. Well, that's nice, but at the same time, this base goes down as well, and Reynor's dropping in bases very quickly here. INnoVation splitting up as the Banes start to make their entry. There's not going to be the Marines to fight the Mutalists, I don't think. Or is there? Still a few left on the bottom side, and they're going to come in for some kills, but the Marauders and the Medivacs are retreating away. How often do you see Marauders retreating away from a fight like this? Very rarely, as Reynor lost 15 drones. Kills the natural CC, that's amazing. Some damage across the map, yes. But INnoVation with damage of his own 2 bases, can't believe he left the Hive alive on such low HP. That's actually kind of huge because Reynor's not on an Ultralis Cavern yet, so it would have slowed down anything past Ling Bane Muta for so long because he also killed the Infestation Pit. So it's a lair, an Infestation Pit, and then the Hive before you can go Ultra Cavern. Now if Reynor finds the money, he can go Ultra Cavern. Not that I think he's going to find the money to go Ultra Cavern in the next couple moments. He is making units to stay alive right now. As we're going to be seeing +1 flyer attack starts up, even investing further into these Mutalisks at the moment. Muta's going to make a dive by in towards the main base already, just jumping on a couple of structures here. Marines running into deflect, and 5 Marines, apparently very scary. INnoVation just taking a moment. He is on a lot of bases of his own, 5, 6. Minus the fact he lost this base over here. But, he's got those extra bases up, right? And that's really the important part of this at the moment, as we see a few of these changelings sat in the center. A scan on the top left-hand side, going to be keeping an eye out as well. As Mutalisks of Reynor back through into the middle of the map, and just going to see a missile turret will get picked off here right away. But units are very quick to respond, coming in from a couple of sides, really minimizing what these Mutalisks can do next. Time for INnoVation to push. He's maxed out. It's time for him to just go again. And I actually think he's just going to make this work. Reynor is down 40 army supply. INnoVation. See, what I don't understand is what is INnoVation being careful for? Because I get it, right? If you're trying to secure bases, etc., you know, you're trying to build up, but he's not building up anymore. This is the time for him to just push, trade, and try to kill Reynor. He's going to have units on a couple different sides. This will have to be a split from Reynor. I mean, INnoVation is going to start testing his own multitasking here. If the fight he's basically, you know, telling Reynor to take. Marine's going to start on the Mulus up here. Meanwhile, Lings and Banes on the bottom side. INnoVation splitting away on the bottom. He's still fighting on the top. Widowmine's hitting Mulus on the top. He seems to be winning the front fight of this, but now the Banes crash in. Only a couple units left. At the same time, these Mulus are losing out, and Widowmines are still killing them off. And that's going to be a GG. Reynor has to leave the game as INnoVation takes a pretty sweet game number 2 of the best of 3. Game number 3 as we enter Eternal Empire. In the bottom left hand side, our red Terran player is INnoVation, as we are taking on the green Zerg in the top right, Reynor, with the opening of some proxy racks. So let's say WikiLeaks 83 on the 75,000 channel points redeem. Balance whining. TvZ and still Pros wins. What's up with this OP race, and why does slowly falling support this monstrosity? That's a good balance wine. I like it. And hey, thank you so much, Kenskog, for the 11-month resub during that last game as well. As INnoVation gonna try and proxy Raxi up this right-hand side, see what he can do. Really sick game. Just consistently able to take multiple fights INnoVation to push him into a better and better position and to eventually just break Reynor. Reynor just never really made it to like that stage where he was coming, like he got up to Hive and he got Adrenal and a 3-3 started, and it was a really nice time for INnoVation to hit before all of that was on the field. But it was also just, you know, Reynor never made that extra step. He never was able to get to the, you know, the Ultralisk Cavern and to really tech up into that stage, which really does slow the Terran down. Now he is going to scout this proxy Rax, but this is with Overlord number 2. So it's pretty late. It's too late to really respond by pulling, you know, drones towards this or anything. The good thing is you can pull drones to the low ground preemptively to deal with the bunker. You do know that that's going to be there. So you can do that, as you do see these couple SCVs, couple Marines setting up, and this proxy Rax will begin. So obviously a much better setup in game number, 3 here for INnoVation than it was in game number 1. Of course, it still will be very micro heavy as these drones already coming down to come and try and fight this. Yeah, here comes that Marine pressing forwards. The bunker kind of wants to go down, but will not just yet. A little bit of damage to a drone there. Spinecrawler will begin to build, and there's the bunker. Obviously, these Marines want to kite backwards and do as much as they can to these drones before Zerglings are here. One of the important parts will be denying the bunker, of course, as Reynor, but this is costing him drones, right? I mean, this is what, 3 workers killed already? Now Zerglings is popping out, and he will get the SCV, which means he doesn't have to commit as far forwards as much. And the Spinecrawler against the 2-Rex might be overkill, and I think Reynor might even get away with cancelling that Spinecrawler here. 4 Marines outside of a bunker. I guess the Spine keeps you very safe, but honestly, I think Queens and Lings would have been just fine. I think the Spinecrawler is actually something which INnoVation looks at and says, well, actually, that's an investment from you that I'm not too worried about. I've already got my factory on the way at home. My command center is starting to build. It has not been a bad start here for INnoVation at all. You kill 4 drones. You force a lot of mine time, so you've actually been in the economic advantage. And of course, again, because it's 2 racks, your gas is coming down very quickly, so the factory isn't even that late, and because you didn't see roaches, you'll build a reactor, and you can go straight in towards these Hellions, which then start to put you just to that regular sort of TvZ position of being on, Hellions, and just having map control, right? You're just going to be in the very, very standard position here, nothing overly crazy. Couple Queens gonna continue to hit this barracks, so dealing a little bit more damage as Overlords will continue to build. This barracks from INnoVation gonna take a few more shots. Zerglings continuing down to this bottom side. Well, they're actually gonna stop and hang around in the center there for a second, so give them a moment as Zergling speed sets up on the spawning pool, so gets that rolling as again, this Rax has to just continue picking up info, right? And it's nice to see no second gas early. You get to see the fact there's only 1 worker in this gas here, so you really just get a good read of, is he being, stupidly aggressive or anything like that? And INnoVation behind this just going to go into the fusion core, and he's going to start building up Battlecruisers in the next few moments of this. So INnoVation going to start building towards Battlecruisers. As we do see this drone. INnoVation just having a little bit of fun here. Lifting up, doesn't take damage, drops back down. As we do see the two Hellions coming over. I mean, Link Speed not done yet, so actually these Hellions can find a fight onto Zerglings right away. That would be brilliant, but of course there's a Queen and a Spine Crawler, so running by into the natural is very tough. Reynor has got Lings making their way to the bottom side, and it looks like INnoVation is realizing, well, where are your Zerglings? And so bringing his Hellions back towards his wall-off, making sure that if something does try to run by, which is what these Zerglings want to do, he's going to be able to handle that. So if a lot of these Hellions setting up, I mean, 6 Hellions just behind the wall-off, and yeah, I mean, a lot more Lings being made by Reynor as well. This is not good for Reynor. I mean, it's a lot of Lings. He is making Queens too, but just now going up to Queens 4 and 5. So because of the late third, this Battlecruiser is actually quite powerful, because what it does is obviously you're in this position where you don't build as many Queens as possible. I'm stumbling over my words. You don't build as many Queens as you usually could. And so the BC comes out not even that delayed. The Queen count's not going to be much higher than 5. Nice catch from these Zerglings. I mean, these Hellions really diving onto creep and not making good moves at all. So that's a nice thing. You know, obviously you want to try and combo those up with the Battlecruiser, because if the Battlecruiser is forcing Queens to go one way, the Hellions can generally slip by another. Now, as Zergling tries to get up this ramp here, that's denied as well. As Reynor will start a lair and a Rotron, I think he's just now realized what's going on, because he saw more Hellions being made, and he saw the stopper with the tech lab. So he's literally only just realized what's happening. So he's only just now started to put himself in a position where he starts spores. So he's in some trouble. A couple of drones already going down. A Queen as well in the main base, and it's going to be 4, 5 drones, 6 before he's done. Oh, that drone just got back into the extractor. It's the it's the shelter from these BCs. He can fly through here, all the Queens in the main base, so you can take some down from one spawn, one Queen to chase some drones. That's absolutely worthwhile. And he will just start to leave now, some damage onto an Overlord, and he will turn back around, maybe interested in killing that Overlord off. Why not? And you can stick around just a little bit longer here. Again, you know the Queens are in the main, so completely out of position, and INnoVation is able to find 11 drone kills, a Queen and Overlord. It's a great start on the first BC, and now he is going to follow up on that promise of only playing Mech in this series, or, well, playing Mech, I suppose, at this point. It's not being only Mech. But, yeah, extra factories dropping down. The Battlecruiser is building, and continuing to build, so you'll get 3 or so of these. Well, there has been some stars in the past where you go up to, like, more than just 3 BCs, but I feel like they got figured out very quickly. So probably just 3 Battlecruisers. I actually saw some players, I think Cure last week, playing a lot of 2 Battlecruiser, no Yamato builds. I think when you get Yamato, it's absolutely worth getting the 3rd one. As this BC continuing, and a little bit more damage being done. The Lings pulling back towards the upper sides, and again, the Hellions and a few Marines even are around this top to see if they can do much as well. Obviously, Reynor losing some drones means he might be being that little bit greedier than usual. Tell you what, he does see where these Queens are right now, and that's kind of huge. He's going to teleport the next BC in. With these Hellions, he's actually going to fight off the Spine Crawler, but honestly, like, I feel like he could have already dove the mineral line. Queens are coming back. I mean, I guess in the end, he still is going to dive the mineral line. Drones are going to go running. There's no armory or anything, so he can't morph into Hellbats. He's just going to come in and fight these Queens, dropping a lot of transfusions. The Marines actually just add such a random bit of damage to this that isn't usually here, and Reynor continues to be in some trouble. BC takes a lot more hits. It will go down, though, so at the end of the day, we're left asking, has this been worthwhile for INnoVation? Well, Hellions will die for some more drones. Really just wrap up a few more kills here and just increase the effectiveness of this overall attack. 13 workers killed, a good amount of Queens taken down. It's going to be seeing the Queens continuing into the center. Is going to be seeing a hatchery or 2 around this top side. A couple of factories, a couple of armories setting up. Going to be seeing the reactor on the barracks dropping down, as well as the starport will also drop into the main base. BC out through the center, some Queens continuing to drop down. And the hatchery is on the top, continue to set up at the moment. Just going to be seeing a couple of creep tumors continue to be picked away at, so continuing to clean up a lot here, as we're going to be having the Battlecruiser. Continues up to the top right, +1 melee and missiles still coming through on the Evo chambers. Corruptors still in production as well. I'm just going to be seeing our Yamato cannon dropping in. It really feels as though INnoVation is in full control of the game right here, where he's killed a lot of drones early. I mean, he's up 10 workers, and he's still finding more kills as well. So INnoVation is putting himself into well, really kind of an amazing spot at the moment. This BC teleports down to the bottom side. A few more supply depots still dropping in across this wall off. Missile turret will come down, +1 melee and missiles on these evolution chambers. Again, just going to see a couple extra cyclones, a few extra Hellions still coming into play. The Corruptor's finally on the field, finally a way to properly shut down VCs. I mean, 2 of them already dead, right? So not the biggest of issues, but it's actually kind of nice from Reynor because it means he doesn't have to build like a ridiculous amount of Corruptors. He can actually get away with only building like 8. And then just really focus the rest of his army on the ground forces and dealing with what's going to be the Hellion Cyclone army of INnoVation that will start moving around and harassing very soon. Now, the best thing is for Reynor here, I think, is that it is Mech from INnoVation. If you take this much damage against Bio, you kind of just die 2 or 3 minutes from now when the first big push comes. But against Mech, it's this weird sort of setup where you can absorb a lot more damage and not die straight afterwards. And so, because Mech's just that little bit less momentum based now, Hellion Cyclone really works well off, being in a lead, etc. But it's still not as punishing as Bio, and those Bio pushes that can just end the game if you don't quite have enough as a Zerg. So I think what we're basically setting up to see here is that Reynor will survive, but INnoVation will get up to a lot of his bases very easily. He will get towards base 4 already. He can probably take base 5 very easily, and that means he's, with the early game damage, put himself in a perfect spot to get into the next stage of the game with Megan. It still is obviously much better than if he'd done no damage at all, don't get me wrong, but it also came at a cost. Like I said, the Battlecruisers, 2 of them are dead. That's obviously a pretty big deal. As you see these troop tumors going down, and the BC on his left-hand side is just fighting these. I mean, he just didn't realize he was in a fight. He didn't even drop the Yamato cannon, so BC has to teleport away. Reynor is just going to expand aggressively, just says, let's get as much of my mining as possible already, because at the end of the day right now, he is in a position where realistically the Terran's going to apply a lot of pressure, and Reynor needs to mine anything in any way he can because he needs to keep up on the map. He needs to keep, he needs to keep his economy. There's going to be a lot of economy denied this game with Blue Flame Hellions hitting mineral lines, Cyclones hitting bases. And he's probably going to lose this base over here right away, for example, as INnoVation continues with this multi-prong. 1 army on the left, 1 army on the right. But if you don't attempt to take those bases, you don't find those opportunities to even mine from them for just a little while. So Reynor will be looking to keep up with that as INnoVation hitting maxed out. A few siege tanks behind this, but still mostly just Cyclones and Hellions in production. All of this army down. From the upper left-hand side, a hatchery gets picked off, and just going to see Roaches and Ravagers. Still trying to press up more of this army. I mean, INnoVation's actually looking like he wants to dive in towards the natural, but now there's Banelings here, so there's not much to be done. He is locked onto the Spire. He's actually going to be able to kill that Spire off, which is nice, just in case at some stage later Reynor maybe wants to make use of it. This isn't so good, because now you're going to get yourself surrounded as INnoVation, and that's not what you want with these Cyclones. He's trying to make the most of it. He's going to try running out around the right-hand side, but that's a lot lost from INnoVation, getting himself surrounded there. Reynor able to set up a good position to take advantage of that. Up the Hive, just about halfway done here as well, as we see more Cyclones, sorry. Over to the right, Roaches, Banelings, and Zerglings. Coming into the middle of the map as well, so a lot of this army from Reynor continuing through. These Banelings continuing to set up a scan into the upper right-hand side. We'll see the Hive about to finish. These Cyclones getting straight on top of this, and a lot of Corruptors just going to go down. I mean, not the end of the world to lose Corruptors in the fact that he already killed off the BCs, but what is kind of a big deal is actually this Liberators building. You can see this surround that Reynor is setting up, and INnoVation has maybe sat around a moment or two too long before trying to run away from it. If he can get past the Banelings, he can just run past the Roaches, of course, somewhat. That's what he will start to do, but obviously still taking some losses. The extra lock-ons here as these Banelings continue to go down. He's got another army, though, hotkeyed differently and sent to the top left. So again, a base of Reynor that will just start to drop here. Already 3 drones down. Zerglings will run in. These Hellions able to get a good few Zerglings already. In fact, getting a really good amount of Zerglings. 4 drones down as well. This is actually not bad, and obviously this time no surround, so these units will escape away. Like I said, though, no pressure from the Zerg at all, and that's a lot to do with how this early game went, and so INnoVation can already go to this base number 5, base number 6 is in position, and that means, that's just so good for him. When the resources loss is going to be, continuing to trend towards his favor, to have that is really amazing. This is where the Liberators coming in. Yes, there's corrosive biles available, but obviously, like, if there was corruptors, this would be even easier to deal with. And the loss of the Spire combined with the fact that it was actually hold that for. Here we go. Big fight coming in. Roaches, Banes, and Ravagers all coming through. Cyclone's able to fight as well. The Liberators do not go down as a lot of the corrosive biles went on siege tanks. Just to finish my thought, but obviously losing the Corruptors means there's just, then the Spire early is just a combination of things that make these Liberators better than they should have been. And right now, they're actually picking up a lot of kills because of it. In fact, Reynor's down on supply, and he's actually got he doesn't have the lava. Oh, Reynor's lava starved. I mean, INnoVation is just going to get a base kill here because of it. I mean, and look at Reynor's bank. 2.5, 1.5k, and he can't spend it. You can see INnoVation obviously doesn't know. He's expecting this remax of units. So at some stage, Reynor has slipped on injects and so on and so forth. And that's kind of painful. Now, he does get his second round of production up now as injects pop. Units are coming out. But again, INnoVation was kind of very careful. He was respecting the expected remax, right? He wasn't diving in too hard. But that was really a scary moment. In the end, it cost Reynor, well, not quite 2 bases. This base will survive as INnoVation gets himself caught in a corner. A few Hellions charging by. He sees this base down over here, but it looks like he's just interested in hitting a mineral line. Trying to soak up a few Banelings there, as he will get in, and this mineral line is in trouble. Reynor's just not seen it, and not just Hellions, it's going to be Hellbats. So if Lings come to respond to this, and Banes, they're going to take a lot of effort to really clean this up, as he makes his way down, and he's got himself so many drones in amongst all of this. 9 workers dead. He's a couple of Hellbats turning for another drone or 2. Zerglin's still running in towards this, and all these roaches, they are finally going to be able to pick this off as INnoVation will continue a push up the left-hand side of the map. Liberator Siege and a couple of Banelings burrowed up here from Reynor as well. Tanks still just pressing forwards. The Banes there just get blown up in an instant. Cyclone's able to lock on. Queen will go down in the hatchery. Looks as though it will fall as well. Reynor pulls back around to this right-hand side, and now more of the army out into the center. Reynor is just in a really tough spot. I mean, he does have the hive up. What can he even do with it, though? Like, I don't know. I actually don't really have a good suggestion. Like, I want to say maybe as these corrosive bars come down, you will get units here to try and protect this. I want to say maybe like you just go Vipers for help with the Cyclones. I mean, the tank count's getting higher, so Vipers might just be best overall anyways. Space does survive, by the way. A hell of a siege up here for INnoVation. He's going to get, well, a good few kills, but there's not much support for these tanks either, so they will just kind of get rolled into by Ling Bane, and they will go down very quickly. I mean, that's kind of an expensive loss. At the same time, INnoVation is trying to push up this right-hand side as well. I mean, really just adding a lot more siege tanks into his composition at this stage. Feels very comfortable to just take a bit of a slow-moving army, and one that doesn't harass, as no need to harass as much. Reynor is limited on the bases which he has right now, and he's going to lose another one here. And he's pushed back to his original 5 bases of the game. Reynor already starts a hatchery in the face of this attack, and in fairness, it's going to work. But that's how desperate he is to get this economy back up and rolling once again. As we're going to see more of these Banelings going down. Roach and Ravager's going to get picked away at. And that little lock on there to push a Ravager or so backwards. As you do see the command center on the left side, command center on the right side. Another 20-minute game, and another one that seems to be going the way of INnoVation in this best of 5 semi-final of the WardiTV Spring Championship Pre-season. Our finals day today. Remember, the main event starting tomorrow. The European groups starting to play $5,000 in that main tournament. Hellions and Cyclones out to the left, and already a couple of Banes continue to roll through. I like these burrowed Bane attempts that Reynor was making. They're definitely cute and they definitely have potential, but unfortunately they're just not enough to change the entire pace of a game. Maybe if, like, I don't even know how well 2 Banelings do. Like, it's almost like he's playing against Bio. He's like, oh yeah, I'll burrow 2 Banelings. The 2 Banelings really blow up all these Hellions. They don't even get a kill. Yeah, they bring them all low, don't get me wrong. But imagine that was 4 or 5 Banelings. Then you've just killed like 20 supply out of nowhere. It's kind of like you're in the habit of burrowing 2 Banelings to deal with Marines. But obviously this is not Marines. This is anything but. Advanced ballistics on the way make those Liberators a bit more powerful as INnoVation. With the hold set up on this right-hand side, this base is going to be difficult to get rid of as Reynor, as he cannot take his bases on the upper left. Definitely in some trouble here as Zerglings and Banelings come running through. Another tank shot or so as well, helping out these Ravagers. Gonna be taking some heavy hits, and a lot of them going down as a few Zerglings continuing over. This Hellbat will be cleaned out. And now just going to be seeing more of these siege tanks from INnoVation back around over to the left-hand side. A lot more Zerglings still coming out and into play here. It's going to be seeing the Banelings, Zerglings, etc. from Reynor still all setting up too. Still a lot of build-up right now as we're going to be seeing the Hellbats and the Cyclones able to pick off this hatchery, so hatchery will go down. A few corrosive bars there from Reynor, able to land on a siege tank or two. Picks off this hatchery in the top left-hand side. Now, this base on the right will go down. Reynor's going to be able to deny a base here, but obviously it's coming at the cost of, well, multiple bases of his own. And the thing is as well, this is not just the top left and the top side, it's probably this one on the low ground as well. Now, this is mining out, especially the Rich Vespine Geyser obviously mines out twice as quickly as a regular Geyser. Bane's going to come through, and they're going to look to connect in. SCVs going to drop very quickly, so I mean, again, Reynor has at least done some damage, but at the end of the day, is it worth everything he's losing on the top side of the map? Because now, he basically has nothing on the top side of the map. He's only on the far right instead. And that obviously just means that INnoVation's future pushes are just going to be fully focused on the right side. And, well, he just has one big push to make to deny the rest of Reynor's economy here. 20 drones died across the top side in this push as well, as Vipers are filling up with energy. Reynor is trying to close on being maxed out one more time in this game. There's some Hellbats here to help these tanks, and that ain't pretty. Reynor just lost like 30-40 supply. And now he's just going to be losing on this top side as well. He just doesn't have the numbers anymore. And a game that's been dominated from INnoVation from the early stages, let's face it. He did so much early damage. And while he can't end the game right away with Mech off the back of early damage, it definitely gave him a lot of advantages to set up onto many bases, to get a lot of harassment on the map, and to never really let Reynor have any sort of say in how this game was going to go. Hatch on the top side goes down. Units on the right side still trying to press on through. And just going to be seeing the rest of this from Reynor coming back into the center. Again, Hellbats and tanks, etc. all still setting up as well. Just, I mean, Reynor, at this point, it's a matter of he's going to try with his army one more time. And then it's going to be game over. And see you later for him. Because there's just no way. I mean, he's trying to abduct a tank or two here or there. I mean, it's crazy. There's a swarm of mech units moving around INnoVation's bottom side of the map. And there's our GG, as INnoVation is going to make his way onto match point in his best of 5. It's really heating up right now as we get ourselves into this. Starting in the top left-hand side of the map. You have our red Terran on match point. This is INnoVation. And in the bottom right-hand side, our blue Zerg from Clash. It's Reynor. Needs to win 2 in a row. Starting here on Simulacrum. Has been aggressive a couple times now in the series. Obviously, once off the back of a 2-rack scouted early, and the other time just chose to go early roaches. That was on Everdream, which ended up losing in the longer bio game. Hey, thank you so much. A couple shout-outs, actually. The Deadly Medic on the 2 months on the Twitch Prime says Fat Streak. Thank you so much. And I Summon Pot of Greed gifting us up to Cyril on that 3-month resub. Welcome back. As we get ourselves into this game 4. No proxies. No early pool or anything. Not just yet, at least. Obviously, you could still see something like a roach attack off of a hatch gas pool. Absolutely a possibility. That barracks just going to be finishing up in the main base. So getting that up and running, and yeah. See what happens. Just going to see this overload of Reynor continuing up the right-hand side then, so really is just checking for proxies. He's been very cautious about this. Doesn't mean his overlords don't get across the map to see the CC or anything, but in this scenario, that doesn't really matter all too much. I mean, there's certain builds where that can be a little bit of a frustration, but in this scenario where, you know, there is actually no proxies on the map or anything like that, this is perfectly fine. No multi-racks Reaper or anything like that. That's the sort of thing you'd be missing if your Overlord wasn't across the map early, for example. This SCV from INnoVation pulls back around from the bottom right. Going to be seeing a Reaper. Will make its way to the bottom instead then, and just going to be seeing, obviously, the CC into a factory, and we'll look to see, are we going to see a second gas? Or are we going to be seeing our, single gas 3cc? I mean, it's not really the map for a single gas 3cc, so I'd expect the second gas sooner rather than later, as Reaper obviously starts to fight with these Zerglings back and forth here initially. Very nearly getting one of them killed. There's the Queen, and this is what all that effort was for, the creep tumor moment. There's the creep. Not going to come down just yet. INnoVation. He's going to die for it. He's blocked off by the Zerglings. It is a 3cc for INnoVation. Okay, so he's going to set up onto this here. And is going to commit through to just heavy economy in these early stages. Now, Overlord speed from Reynor is what he's essentially doing, is he's paying to see that his opponent is being greedy. Which is obviously a little bit of a shame. But at the end of the day, there's still more benefits to Overlord speed throughout the game as well. He's also not going to be on Zergling speed early, though. So that's something he's obviously missing out on. Let's see a couple of extra Hellions popping out. Marine on the way. Starport not too far from finishing. As we'll see that Rax lifting off, and that's going to come down towards the low ground here. See what's going on. A couple of extra drones in production as Reaper just makes his way through the main base. Has a full scout. I mean, what a scout that is for INnoVation. Not very often you see like a full scout like this, and this Reaper's not even been touched yet. He's having a time of his life. He's like, I'm not used to taking no damage. Let me stop here and take a couple Zergling shots. Because that was definitely hurting until then. He's just like, he wasn't hurting at all. INnoVation is going to go Banshees behind this 3cc. He's actually going to cancel a Cloak and go Liberator. I think maybe a fake out initially. And he's going to start Cloak again. So wants a Liberator, but is wanting to try and fake it into being Banshees. Obviously, you still want to try and deny the Overlord scouting because still no information is better than, some information. And it makes it feel as though that, this fake out is even more real when you scout it because, you've been trying your hardest to stop the scouting from coming down. So if we're back in the main, obviously there's just so little anti-air early, just a couple of Marines, so you are able to eventually see this. So use a starport with the Cloak. Now, there's the interesting part. You see the Cloak cancelled, obviously. When Reynor builds spores here, he's going to build spores in the center of his mineral lines to deal with a Banshee. If he knew this was a Liberator, he would build spores a bit more towards the edges, right? And a bit more towards where he feels like Liberators are, commonly going to be placed. So that's the importance of that denial there for INnoVation. It's definitely something which is going to give him an opportunity or two extra on the Liberator in the next few moments. He goes into extra barracks, he drops the engineering base, gets ready for the bio players. These Hellions are going to come driving by, past a few of these Queens in the middle. Again, here's this Liberator, and like I mentioned, this Spore Crow is just going to be out of position, and Reynor's not paying attention to it, so that's already a few drones going down. These Hellions dove as though they were expecting the drones to start pulling already, and then the drones kind of just sat there. I mean, the Hellions kind of go down without adding much to this. The Liberator did the majority of this damage, 8 kills, although some were Zerglings towards the end. 9 workers killed in total. The Liberator can back away and get repaired. The biggest loss here is the Hellions. Losing your map control keeps you safe on that third base from some of the run-by potential, etc. when you first start dropping with these 2 medevacs. It's actually one of the bigger features, in fact, because if you're trying to drop your first 60 Marines to clean creep and there's like a ton of Zerglings here, that's where you're meant to have Hellions. In fact, this is where you're meant to have Hellions right now as well. So Reynor making use of these Zerglings, known Hellions are no longer on the map, making INnoVation's life that little bit more difficult. These Marines pulling back in towards... Okay, into a nice corner. He does have Stim Pack. Obviously helps as well. TvZs go down here. A couple extra Marines showing up. And then Reynor will lose quite a few of these Zerglings as they get pushed away. Now the Liberator will get repaired and back onto the map as well. So, not bad actually for INnoVation, because he actually cleans up a lot of units there. All things considered, so definitely a little positive as we do see this layer on the natural expansion of Reynor going to be finishing up, and the 2 medevacs of INnoVation make their way out and down to the bottom side of the map as well. So away they go as our Bane Nest, our Hydro Stand. All of this just continuing. Hatchery on the third base. Macro hatching it up. double Hydra down here. We'll see if that's a mistake or just double Hydra upgrades. I've seen weirder things in my life as you see a couple drones already going down. These Zerglings wanting to come in for a little bit of a surround, and Marines will just lift up and get out quickly. But honestly, a few drone kills, not bad at all. I think that was the Liberator that came in and has now died off to the... yeah, looks like it had a fight against the Queen as well. So Liberator during this time getting some damage. What INnoVation hasn't done is cleaned up a lot of the creep in the center. So the creep in the middle of the map is, you know, passing the halfway marker now. It's really making some pretty serious progress towards the Terran's bases. So you've got to decide kind of soon here as INnoVation, how are you going to handle that? Are you going to start cleaning up that creep? And if you are, you need to start doing it soon. Otherwise, it's just still going to be out of control by the time it gets to your larger pushes. We're not far away, you know, 2 minutes away from 2-2. Obviously, the 2-2 push is one we talk about, you know, time after time here in TvZ. Medevac around the top side then, as we do see a few Marines and a Medevac on the bottom. Lings and Hydras setting up from Reynor. Going to be seeing the infestation pit from Reynor in the main base, and already these first few Zerglings coming around, getting a little bit of a surround there as well. As Marines come forwards, a few creep tumors already going down. Wouldn't mind building up, and Mauling Bane from the bottom side of this. Oh, INnoVation very slow to pick up. I mean, those are no-speed Banelings. Yes, it's creep, but, you know, they're waddling. They're not rolling. They're waddling into that army. And still managing to connect on a good amount of Marines is obviously, well, micro that you'd expect to be a little bit, you know, a little bit better well done by INnoVation here. 2-2 upgrades on the engineering bay as we see the rest of the Bioforce still gather them on the third. I mean, remember on Everdream, one of the big things I think was that INnoVation cleaned out so much of the creep spread he could push and push and push, and he was able to make use of a lot of the choke points towards the Zerg bases. That's not really a thing here on this map, because A, the creep spread is very good, and B, there's not really many choke points in front of, like, you know, right on top of Zerg base. I guess this one maybe, but like I say, it's so deep on creep right now. Are you ever going to get there? 3 medevacs on the bottom side of the map as Reynor came running up here. Honestly, there's not that many units, but he does pull away. 3 medevacs go into the main, where there's already a few Zerglings. With 3 medevacs unloading, you should be able to overrun those Zerglings pretty quickly, and he will. Now stemming forwards, I mean, a Queen under some heavy fire right away. More Zerglings running in. Obviously, the Banes are just that little bit slower. At the same time, you've got to push in the center, but that's going to be overrun by Zerglings. INnoVation will sort of step backwards. He loses everything in the main base. A lot of bio in that main base loss. I mean, that was 3 full medevacs of units that unloaded there. Only gets a couple drones. Obviously, he's trading out, but not amazingly, right? The resources lost is pretty even. So, INnoVation not finding the trades just yet. With the map control on the map, it definitely feels as though Reynor is able to just take over this entire map at the moment. It feels like he's able to take the entirety of this, as we do see these medevacs pulling, well, turning back around, and full bio on this bottom side. A couple of Queens pressing forwards. Medevacs will load up, turn themselves back around on the south side. A bit more bio will unload once again, and still just going to see, well, actually the Hydra's able to pick off a medevac. Bane continue to push through also, as we see the creep tumors going to be taking a few shots of damage here. Zerglings running back up, and there's that command center from INnoVation trying to make its way down to the bottom left. Hydra's coming through, and we see the Bioforce continuing to come into play. There's a couple tanks already going to be sieging, and the rest of these Banes continue to come up this ramp. They'll not be able to make it through there. So INnoVation just going to go up to 5 bases, but I mean, we're really just seeing him invite the late game. With Reynor already on his way towards a few Vipers, Adrenal, and a 3-3. There's just so much less control in this game for INnoVation than there was when he played on Everdream. But this is a nice catch. He's actually going to win this fight very comfortably and chase the Hydras down to get a bunch of kills. So that is a win for INnoVation, and that's kind of the first win he's really had in a fight on a larger scale in quite some time. But again, there's still this kind of somewhat impossible task of cleaning up all of this creep spread. While you still have Zerglings running around your other bases, etc. If you don't get rid of that creep, you just never regain control of this map. Now, he went into Drilling Claws, but he's actually decided to stick with the Siege Tank production. So he's going to be sticking with that. And because of the fact that this is going to be Hydras on the map, he's just going to go straight in towards the Greater Spire. You already have a bit of a sturdier army on the ground, so you don't really need to make your way in towards Ultras like you typically do of Lingbane Muta. So he's just going to go straight to Broodlords as well. Reinforcements again from INnoVation here to deal with this Zergling run by. He might be losing one of his factories though, as a couple of Banelings going down, and well, still trying to press forwards, but there are Vipers to deal with blinding, get blinding clouds and abducts off on these siege tanks. Not even really siege for the start of this fight, but honestly there's not very many Banelings, so is the bio not just going to do very well here? There's a Baneling to the top side and one more on the south side that now goes down. Now there's only going to be Hydras remaining, so INnoVation stemming forwards. He doesn't have a lot left over. These Hydras on creep can retreat away. Wow, I mean, if INnoVation maybe even had just a couple of extra tanks sieged up at the start of that, maybe, just maybe, he has enough to push through at that point now. What is nice is he's continuing to trade out and at least forcing Reynor to rebuild some of these lower tech units. As the Greater Spire is just going to be finishing up from Reynor in the natural expansion. So getting that Greater Spire completed, more Zerglings up and around to the top side. They're going to run in towards a mineral line over here. Rest of this bio down through the center. Zerglings being picked away at, so a bunch of Lings going down as well. More Lingbane Hydra around the bottom. As INnoVation just isn't maxed out yet and definitely seems to be struggling to get there. As you do see, Reynor just going to run into this. Blinding Clouds negate the siege tanks. 4 tanks and 2 Blinding Clouds. Definitely not the numbers you want. As you see now, some Banes into this mineral line, and that's SCV's taking a big hit. The Planetary Fortress will survive, as Reynor has another Baneling run by to the top. But INnoVation sees it coming, so he's already stimming and pulling those SCVs. Resources lost, just that 2,000 difference. And again, Reynor this time around just has base after base after base after base, mining away 94 drones, so his economy is obviously pretty crazy. So he's really able to overcome a resources loss like that. And INnoVation, every time he's fighting, I feel like he's even on lower supply than he was the last time. But because of the high worker count, Reynor's army supply is pretty low, so there's a realistic opportunity here that INnoVation could overrun an army. It's just there's always going to be a remax waiting to happen. And that obviously becomes the next stage of this, as these Banelings are crashing in on the natural. There's Zerglings picking off depots on the top side. This is just becoming an absolute mess all around, as Lingbane Hydra going to run into this bottom left-hand side of Planetary Fortress while Banelings roll in and clean up. 35 SCVs going down. The rest of this Bioforce from INnoVation just going to be continuing to come on through. I'm just going to be continuing down the bottom side. Hatchery is going to die, and that's nice and all, but you're on basically zero income now as INnoVation. Very little. A third base that's, well, healthier than I imagined, because this was the third base, right? Yeah, I guess so. So a fourth base that's healthier than I imagined. But, yeah, I mean, as he pushes forward, he's supply blocked. He can't even rebuild units right now. He's trying to start a new command center. All Reynor has to do is trade, clean up, rebuild, trade again. I mean, you can give up these bases because you have bases on the top of the map to work with anyways. INnoVation's going to go for the load up into the main. The mega drop. Everything possible to try and cover the ramp and give him a fight that can maybe some way make this work. I mean, these Vipers, they're going to drop a blind cloud on the siege tanks here, make this a little bit better. The Bioforce will sit in the concave up this ramp, so the Banelings will not have a fun time running up here. By the end of the day, the damage output is just not high enough to continue holding this position forever, surely. As he runs on up, I mean, the Banes keep crashing through, and Reynor will finally get the Hydras up to clean up everything else. INnoVation down on 90 supply, looking as though we are going to a game number 5 in our very first series of the day. Here in these semi-finals, 100 supply advantage from Reynor, money in the bank to spare, new Vipers building. It's a wonderful day to be Zerg here on Simulacrum. Can't remember what our 5th map is. I think the veto was Zen from INnoVation and Purity and Industry from Reynor, so maybe Golden Wall is map number 5. That's interesting in itself, I suppose, as a little bit of bio getting out the front. Orbital's going to land, Nemula 2 dropping down. Hatchery up the front, just going to be seeing the few extra Marines dropping in the back of this base as well. These Zerglings coming through to get picked, try and pick something up. Reynor's going for a lurker den. The last thing I think he needs in this game is lurkers. As that's This is such a feels bad, man. It's like, man, I'm trying to drop my way back into the game and you just abduct my full medevac of Marines that I was able to preserve. And you just take them and you kill them. Buddy, like, give me a, give me something here. Definitely a frustration as we do have our, well, lurkers, banelings setting up in the center. A bit more bio wanting to come out, and here we go. Bane's going to start rolling into this. I mean, he's going to try and sit in this concave. Units from the bottom side as well. And here comes the Slaughter from Reynor to take game number 4. So many Hydras still left over on this right-hand side. There's only a couple of tanks left. The Lurkers are going to show up. Poor siege tank gets abducted in. And we are going to the ace match. How very exciting that is in this series. I had such a smooth transition planned out, and then the whole thing fell apart because my XSplit didn't change scenes. Thank you, XSplit. Welcome back, everybody, to WardiTV and our Spring Championship Pre-season here. Semi-finals today, and the Grand Finals afterwards. Our first semi-final has already gone a little bit crazy, as in the bottom right-hand side. Our blue Zerg player, this is Reynor. Sitting on the red Terran in the bottom left-hand side, INnoVation. Golden Wall, map 5. What a map to end a series on. I mean, just because we've seen so many different ways this map can play out. Just yesterday, in that ESL Open Cup Finals, Reynor and Clem played a crazy game on this map with Clem really pushing through the bottom side of the map heavily. We've seen Zergs who take the bottom side, Zergs who take the gold, Terrans that take the gold, Terrans that expand on the bottom. You know, once I even saw a Terran take a third base up here, and I it blew my mind. It's just been crazy. It's just been crazy. A couple of shout-outs. Actually, just the one. Lepsid1265, thank you so much for the 29-month resub. Says, love the new rebrand. Take this $5 by yourself. Something nice this time around. Buy myself a new StarCraft tournament. Let's go. Thank you so much for the 29-month resub. As we have a hatch gas up in pool, starting on Golden Wall. A few different opportunities and possibilities here. As our Overlord's moving around, would you see an SCV of INnoVation out into the center of the map? We're on the way up, and this series has honestly had a bit of everything. Proxy racks, roach aggression, mech, bio, Terrans winning, Zergs winning. Hey, thank you so much, Gexy, in the Twitch Prime for 3 months. Says thank you for the quality entertainment. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. Thank you so much for supporting the tournaments. I really appreciate it. As obviously we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. INnoVation already showing us like a top side command center natural. So again, the question now becomes: do you take the third base down on the bottom? Does you take the third base on the gold? Typically, let's say if you take top side, you continue out towards the gold base. Just because it's a little bit frustrating to have to deal with an attack here and an attack here. Whereas if you just take the gold base, the attack here doesn't really exist because of the mineral blockers. So it really helps you just to cover the front of your natural expansion as well. So that's something we can watch out for as this Reaper pulls back up the right-hand side. Is going to be hanging around up this ramp. Queens of Reynor making their way over, and they are going to start fighting off those, fighting off this Reaper here as the drone is coming over and is looking to place down a hatchery. Reaper is just going to slow it down as much as possible, but it shouldn't be able to do too much. 2 queens coming over obviously is a pretty good amount to shut this down. As actually built 2 marines here to try and get this Overlord, but it should be able to get to high ground, or at least to the south side of the map. So these marines shouldn't be able to chase forever, as we do see the couple of Hellions on the way, Tech Lab on the barracks, Starport buildings. This feels like, I mean, actually still only 1 gas, so it is fast 3cc. I guess didn't mention that too quickly, did I? The Overlord saw this? Yeah, so INnoVation already kind of figured out here by Reynor, as you'll go Tech Lab on the racks and Tech Lab on the Starport. Interesting. I mean, 3cc this early obviously has led into a lot of bio play. If you want to play mech from this, you go into a pretty late fusion core, but the tech lab on the barracks then doesn't really make a lot of sense. He's going to start cloak, and looks like we might just get banshees out of this for real this time around. Just keep him safe, especially because Reynor saw the 3cc early. There's some possibility of him going into like a, oh, I'm just going to roach bust you to take this win quickly because you're playing very greedily. It's not the best map for roach attacks because it's a little bit large. The rush distance is quite long, but obviously if you see an early 3cc, you can still make it work. But the Banshee will give INnoVation that kind of safety layer, and I think Reynor, seeing the tech lab on the starport, is not just going to take the risk to be that aggressive, and he will rescout here with his other Overlord, and we'll be able to see this. So that's a nice scout. Again, this is Overlord speed. It is an investment in the early game, right? You have to cut Queen production a little bit. You do have to mine an extra 100 gas to get it and Overlord speed, so it and circling speed. So it is an investment, and that's why it's so powerful in a way, right? Because you're able to get so much information. But again, it comes at a cost of just naturally cutting down on where you usually would be. Mr. Marine's going to chase this Overlord down to the bottom side. A lot of damage done. The Overlord very low in hit points as INnoVation will continue to pull his Banshee back away over to the far right. Hellions and the Reaper coming through the center of the map, and just going to be coming in here. A couple of these creep teamers of Reynor may be in some trouble right from the get-go, as we do see our Banshee maybe able to press up in towards a base or two soon. Obviously, currently just the one. The second one actually never came out. He finished cloak, but okay, sorry, the second Banshee is still in production. I was going to say, it's just kind of not so often you see the cloak being done before second Banshee. I guess because he went cloak and was waiting on Banshee number one. All right, well, as he took, we do see the gold base as the choice of expansion here from INnoVation, and Stimpack about to finish. Bio continuing to come on up. I think the one thing we've got to say is that we just need a bit more kind of clearing of the map from INnoVation earlier on this time around. You know, he needs to clean up this creep spread. He cannot let the creep be all over the place, because it's one of the big reasons he was unable then to keep the game going after that. Now, off this gold base, you can obviously have a boosted set of income, and from there, you can usually maybe make a big kind of push happen. So, something to watch out for. These Banshees still around, have not used themselves just yet, and looks like, I mean, they're rallied bottom right to top right. I mean, that's kind of a weird way to go about it, but I'm sure they're going to stop off at a base or so on the way. A couple extra SCVs continue to come in as the Lingbane setup comes in. Our next real question, what is the lair tech really used for here? Is this just pure Lingbane and the lair is for the Bane speed? Do we see a Hydralisk then, or do we see the Mutalisk? I was going to say the Mutalisk Cavern, the Spire for the Mutalisks as well. I see already 3-4 drones going down. This is a nice play with the Banshee. Some shots on the Queen as well, weakening it up. So even if there's an Overseer here and a little bit more defense, that Queen is still that little bit weaker. In the center of the map, INnoVation is through and cleaning up some creep, and that's exactly what he wasn't really doing much of in the last game. His Banshee is kind of stretching out that look and seeing how far they can get as they hit that swarm pool for a while. Honestly, Reynor only just recently started to send the other Queens in towards the main base, so INnoVation maybe could have even done a bit more with those Banshees, but alas, how are you meant to know that, right? And better to play safe and carefully, I think, a lot of the time than anything else. This is really nice. Loops around in the middle of the bases. Gets himself 4 drones. Oh, Queen is just... What is that? Queen here shoots a Banshee down over here? My god. I honestly swear, every time we load into a game of StarCraft, Queen range goes 1 higher or something. It's insane. It's just, obviously it's high ground as well, so I mean, our perspective looks a bit dodgy, but just able to reach that Banshee, able to get that kill. We're going to be seeing a few more creep tumors continuing to go down through this top side of the map. Marine's going to get an Overlord or so around the top as well. I mean, this is a nice push to clean up a lot of creep, etc. I mean, a few Queens out here. Banes, do you have Bane speed? So once they join the battle, this is not a position you necessarily win out as INnoVation, as he's already pulling back. These Marines need to jump into medevac. He's going to get off creep. Or maybe he doesn't need to jump into medevac. There's only a couple of Banelings really left. Meanwhile, there is a drop on the top right. We'll check in on that right now. This hatchery getting very low is not dead. He's going to commit for it. Oh my god, the Banshee's here as well, though. The Banshee's going to get the final shots. Banshee will kill the 4th hatchery. So this hatchery goes down, and now some more Zerglings coming through. Still a Baneling on this left-hand side. And that is a lift from INnoVation, but so much more pressure than what he was applying in the last game. And obviously getting a pick off on the 4th base is very nice this early in the game as well. Poor Marines. They were sent on an impossible task, and They almost believed they'd got it done, but the Queen survives. The Marines don't get saved. And the medevacs are all coming home empty-handed. A couple of these medevacs still out with a drop over here, but Reynor very aware of it. Still haven't seen any sort of tech structure, so it's pure Ling Bane. And when you're playing pure Ling Bane, the drop play of the Terran is one of the key ways they're going to win the game. Because the whole idea is you've got no Hydras, no meters, you can't shut down the drops, you're going to rush up to Hive. So as the Terran, you want to, take advantage of that as much as possible. Drop all over while not giving up your drops, though. You can't lose them. But if you keep your drops alive and you keep dropping, you're going to have a hell of a 2-2 push set up for yourself. Now, there's a huge run by for INnoVation's 4th base. He actually walked past this Ling Bane army as he went up to the top. But that does mean he might get a good position on the top side of the map. This Ling Bane army, I mean, these SCVs just need to go running. There's no way you save this. Ling's already surrounded, and the SCVs, well, they go running behind the mineral line. That's probably not going to help them out. Base is blown up. This base cancelled. So INnoVation knocked back down to 3 bases. Some revenge there for Reynor. Of course, that is, an army used. Oh, whoa, why is this not a wall off? What happened here? INnoVation going to be a little bit all over the place then, as he is coming around this top side. Obviously, I was going to say it's an army used by Reynor to then, of course, create, to then, of course, mean that he doesn't have as much defensively elsewhere, but a lot more SCVs of INnoVation going down. Depot's dropping here as well, so finding himself supply blocked in amongst all of this. At the same time, this drop has found a way back into the main, so Marines here are going to trade very well against these Zerglings, only Zerglings, and so they go down. More drones are dropping. Hatchery has fallen, and INnoVation's taking the supply lead right now as he'll continue to stim his way to the top right-hand side. Oh, he's going to come in. He's going to get a couple of Queens. He's going to get this Hatchery, perhaps. Reynor just doesn't have the units. These Marines in the main are still just sat here trading away. The base doesn't go down, saved by a transfusion at the last second on the top of the map. These Marines dropping back down, and Banes will crash in to more or less clean this out. Another run by towards the gold base, and INnoVation's barely mining on 3 bases at the moment. His supply is still so high, though. And that's the biggest issue here for Reynor. His numbers just aren't there just yet. I mean, given a few minutes, he's got 4 bases against, well, I guess it's still 4 bases, really. Obviously, INnoVation can get the mining started here once again as more Marines coming up through the top. Continue to make their way around as we have Banes and Zerglings through the center of the map as well. The rest of these medevacs from INnoVation back to the upper left-hand side, and Zerglings of Reynor look like they want to go darting by into this base. Order mines will already burrow up, and we're just going to be seeing the Zerglings do back away to the upper left corner. A bit more bio going to be unloading here, and going to be seeing our, again, a few Marines already dealing some damage. So Reynor taking a lot of damage on this Overlord as you see Siege Tank picked off, medevacs back around the top, looking to move around. Lots of Ling Bane around here as well. Reynor will finish up another couple of groups of Banelings. He's going to send these towards that upper left-hand side. +3 melee, +3 carapace. On the way out, as INnoVation will come all the way to the top right. So bring the rest of his units over here. Extra Banelings finishing up shortly from Reynor. The 2 medevacs around the back side of this then. Again, more Marines, medevac on the bottom as well. We're going to see a lot of Zerglings from Reynor into the center of the map as our Marines of INnoVation will unload. Reynor has been given a chance to kind of get back in it. Obviously, INnoVation taking a while to get his economy back rolling. Has slowed him down a little bit here. Reynor has this gold base up now as well. I wouldn't mind drop for INnoVation, see if he can find some damages. Obviously, this is, again, a faster hive because of the Ling Bane only style. And that means that you're actually going in towards that Ultras Cavern now as Reynor. And if you can get there, you're in a very good spot. This army, though, is going to find the Ling Bane, which was wanting to be a run-by. So INnoVation will be able to chase this. And these Banes off creep, obviously, I mean, you basically have to commit some of these units. Otherwise, they're just going to get chased and killed. I mean, it's kind of rough. We're going to see more Lings coming up to try and make something of a fight out of this. INnoVation lifts up and pulls away. More army down on the bottom as INnoVation should be able to deal with that. No real issue. He actually lifted up over here and jumped back around. He's going to lift up once more. Man, that Widow Mine is so close to being ready to blow everything up. Such, even bad Marines there. 2 Marines for 2 Banelings. Oh my god, this Widow Mine. The thing is as well, you're not paying attention to, to this all the time as Reynor. And so the Widow Mine could really go off if you're just not expecting it. So much in the center from Reynor as well. First 3 Ultralists on the way up, though. And also 3-3 about to kick in from Reynor. That's something INnoVation doesn't even have. The fact that INnoVation does not have 3-3 means that his attacks are actually going to be really weakened here, especially against Ultras. Like, these Ultras, you're going to think that, like, these are going to be like Legacy of the Void launch Ultralists. They are not going to die. As Marauders still pressing forwards, here come our Zerglings. Going to charge through Marauders, tanking some of this initial damage. Widow Mines, well, making this chaotic. God knows what's actually dying here. More Widow Mines going down. All I can tell you is that INnoVation supply is dropping. And we have a big fleet of Medivacs pulling back to the left. A few other Widow Mines going to start going off. Zerglings all over the place going down. This is not looking good for INnoVation, guys. It was looking great for him just a couple minutes ago. And I mean, he just didn't keep up the pressure. Reynor kind of resettled himself. I mean, it's kind of tough to keep up the pressure. He had to reset his bases, but well, he's not over yet. He will move to the top left. Libra is on the way. The lack of 3-3 is really bad, though. Like, the lack of that upgrade missing does so much for the Zerg. These Ultras can take so many hits from the bio units in this scenario. It's really crazy as INnoVation just loses this fight over here as well, and just going to be seeing the Zerglings coming through. This hatchery, man, if he'd killed that off maybe, and Reynor would not be able to rebuild as much as he did, maybe this is a very different game. You guys want to see the income difference? And you can see kind of Reynor's advantage here, and INnoVation really wasn't mining much at all. Thing is, Reynor wasn't mining a lot here either. It's just everything. He's mining so much more that INnoVation was basically mining nothing. He was onto like 2 bases. Never mind, will help defend up on the top at the moment. As I mean, armies are still fairly similar. Again, I guess the biggest issue for me is, like, I'll say it one more time: 3-3. You basically never see a Zerg on 3-3 and a Terran on 2-2. And you're going to see why. I wonder if at this point INnoVation even thinks he's on 3-3. And in fact, he's actually not. Things, Banes, and Ultras around this top side of the bio army. Going to start pulling back a little bit, and these Ultras going to start pushing through. Planetary Fortress dealing some good damage to a lot of these Zerglings, and run by... Okay, well, that's it. That's just... You have Lings in your main base. You've got to deal with that while also dealing with Ultras you can barely get any damage onto. He's going to lose all of his production here. Adrenal glands about to finish, meaning things die even faster. And again, the Zerg army is just not dying right now. Again, as Marauders spawn, they go down very quickly. Again, Adrenal glands are about to kick in, so these Lings are going to go mega mode. And the production is going to be absolutely slaughtered. INnoVation in this main base is just losing out on pretty much everything. See, Zerglings still going at everything possible. I mean, there's bio army coming through. This is just going to be over as INnoVation comes through, cleans up a little bit more. We're going to be seeing more Lings, Corruptors, Banes, Ultras coming through the center. Widow Mines going off all over the place. A lot of Lings going down. I mean, it's just not going to be enough. GG's going to be called, and Reynor is going to go to the grand finals. Our last Korean player has fallen. There are so many, and not a single one remains. Reynor wins this series 3-2, and what a series it was. A hell of a way to start this beautiful week of StarCraft 2. Wow, wow, wow. What a game.